Welcome to Stairway to English. Today, we will talk about toxic habits. These are small actions that may look normal, but they slowly hurt our life. They stop us from growing, from being happy, and from feeling free. In this video, you will practice your English listening and reading while also learning how to see these habits and how to break them. Let's start the journey to a healthier and better life. Episode 1: Understanding the Silent Power of Toxic Habits. Every day, people live with habits that shape their lives. Some habits are good, like exercising, reading, or eating healthy food. These habits make life better, stronger, and happier. But there are also habits that slowly harm us. These are called toxic habits. A toxic habit is something that looks normal or harmless at first, but can hurt your mind, your body, and even your relationships in the long run. Many people live with toxic habits without even noticing them. They may think it is just part of their life, but over time, these habits steal their peace, their health, and their happiness. In this episode, we will begin to understand what toxic habits are and how they can affect our lives. The first important step is to recognize the power of habits. A habit is something you do repeatedly, often without thinking. For example, brushing your teeth in the morning is a habit. Checking your phone before bed can also be a habit. Habits can save us time and energy, but they can also trap us. A toxic habit may feel small at first. It may feel like it is not a big deal. But when you do it every day, it becomes part of your identity. The danger of toxic habits is that they are silent. They do not always hurt you immediately. Instead, they grow slowly, like a shadow, until one day you realize they have taken control of your life. One example of a toxic habit is negative self-talk. Many people speak to themselves in ways they would never speak to a friend. For instance, after making a mistake, someone might say, "I am so stupid," or "I can never do anything right." This becomes a daily pattern, and the brain starts to believe it. Negative self-talk kills confidence and makes you feel small, even when you have great potential. This toxic habit may not leave visible scars, but inside, it shapes how you see yourself and how you live your life. Another common toxic habit is procrastination. This is when you keep delaying tasks, saying, "I will do it tomorrow," again and again. At first, procrastination feels comfortable. It gives you temporary relief because you don't have to face the difficult task now. But over time, the work piles up, the pressure increases, and you feel stressed and unprepared. Procrastination steals your time and makes your dreams harder to reach. It's like walking with a heavy bag every day. The longer you carry it, the harder life feels. Social habits can also be toxic. For example, constantly comparing yourself to others is one of the most dangerous habits in today's world. Social media makes this even worse. People scroll through pictures and stories of others and begin to feel less successful, less attractive, or less happy. This habit creates jealousy and insecurity. The truth is, social media often shows only the highlights of someone's life, not the struggles. But when you compare yourself, you forget this truth. Over time, this toxic habit can destroy your self-esteem and even damage friendships. Another example is gossip. Many people think gossip is harmless conversation, but it is a toxic habit that slowly destroys trust. When you gossip about others, you create negativity, and when you listen to gossip, you feed it. Gossip spreads quickly, but it never builds anything positive. Instead, it breaks relationships and makes people feel unsafe. If you are around gossip often, you may even become part of it without realizing it. This shows how toxic habits can spread like poison in the air. Some toxic habits also affect the body. For example, eating junk food every day or not sleeping enough are habits that feel normal but hurt your health over time. Drinking too much coffee, smoking, or sitting too long without exercise are other examples. These habits reduce your energy, make you sick, and shorten your life. The problem is that these habits are easy to start, but very hard to stop. That is why they are called toxic. They give short-term pleasure, but take away long-term well-being. The reason toxic habits are so dangerous is that they often feel invisible. They don't hurt at first, so people continue them for years. But slowly, they change the way you think, the way you feel, and the way you connect with the world. Imagine a glass of clean water. If you add 1 drop of poison every day, the water looks almost the same, but over time, it becomes dangerous to drink. Toxic habits are like that poison. They may not show big changes at once, but they build up until life feels heavy, stressful, and painful. The good news is that toxic habits can be broken. The first step is awareness. You cannot change what you cannot see. That is why learning about toxic habits is important. Once you recognize them, you can slowly replace them with healthy habits. For example, instead of negative self-talk, you can practice kind words to yourself, like, I made a mistake, but I am learning. Instead of procrastination, you can create small goals and reward yourself for progress. Instead of comparing yourself to others, you can focus on your own journey. In this series, we will go deeper into how to stop toxic habits and how to build new, positive ones. But before we move forward, remember this. Toxic habits are not who you are. They are patterns you have learned. And patterns can be changed. You are not trapped by your habits. You have the power to transform them. This is the beginning of a journey to a healthier, happier, and freer life. Episode 2: How Toxic Habits Slowly Shape Our Daily Lives. When we think about toxic habits, many people imagine big and dangerous actions. But in reality, toxic habits are often small behaviors that seem harmless in the beginning. These habits slowly enter our daily lives and begin to shape the way we think, act, and feel. Because they start so quietly, we do not notice their real effect until they have already become strong. This is why understanding how toxic habits grow in daily life is important. One common toxic habit is negative self-talk. This means saying unkind or hurtful words to yourself in your mind. For example, when you make a mistake, instead of saying, I can try again, you might say, I am stupid, or I will never be good enough. At first, this seems like a small thing, but if you repeat these thoughts every day, they slowly affect your self-confidence. Over time, you may stop trying new things because you believe you cannot succeed. This shows how a toxic habit can start with only words, but later control your actions and feelings. Another toxic habit is procrastination, which means delaying important tasks. For example, if you have homework, a work project, or even simple daily tasks, you may tell yourself, I will do it later. At first, waiting does not seem like a problem, but if you repeat it every day, the work grows bigger and the stress becomes heavier. Procrastination becomes a cycle. You delay the work, then feel stress, and then delay again. In the long term, this habit can harm your career, education, and personal life. It also reduces your energy and peace of mind. Toxic habits can also be about the way we spend time. For example, many people spend hours scrolling on their phone or watching videos without thinking. This habit is not bad in small amounts, but if it becomes a daily pattern, it steals time that could be used for learning, exercising, or building real connections with people. Slowly, this habit can create feelings of emptiness, loneliness, or dissatisfaction, even if you cannot explain why. Relationships are another area where toxic habits grow. For example, always complaining, gossiping, or blaming others can harm friendships and family bonds. At first, these behaviors may feel normal, but they slowly damage trust and respect. If repeated, they create distance between people. Sometimes, toxic habits in relationships are not about what you say, but what you don't say. Staying silent when you need to speak or avoiding honest communication is also a toxic pattern. Over time, this silence builds walls instead of bridges between people. Toxic habits often hide behind comfort. Our brains like comfort and routine, so toxic habits feel easy to continue. For example, choosing fast food instead of cooking or watching TV instead of exercising feels good in the moment. But in the long term, these choices weaken your health and energy. This shows how comfort can trick us into repeating harmful patterns without thinking. The slow and quiet nature of toxic habits make them dangerous. Because they grow step by step, we often do not fight them early. Imagine planting a small seed in the ground. If it is a flower, it grows into beauty. But if it is a weed, it spreads and destroys the garden. Toxic habits are like weeds in the garden of your life. They take space, block growth, and sometimes kill the good things you are trying to build. Understanding how toxic habits shape our daily lives is the first step to change. It teaches us that we must pay attention not only to big actions, but also to small choices we repeat every day. Each small action is like a stone in the road. Together, these stones create the path you walk. If you allowed toxic habits to place the stones, your path may lead to stress, sadness, or failure. But if you choose healthy habits, your path can lead to peace, confidence, and success. So, the lesson is simple. Toxic habits are not only about what you do in one day, but what you repeat across many days. They grow quietly and slowly, shaping your future without your permission. To protect your mind, body, and relationships, it is important to notice these patterns early and take small steps to stop them. Episode 3: Why Toxic Habits Are So Hard to Break. Many people know that toxic habits are harmful. They understand that these habits hurt their health, mind, and relationships. Yet, even with this knowledge, most people find it extremely difficult to stop them. The question is, why? Why do we continue to repeat behaviors that we know are bad for us? The answer lies in how our brain, emotions, and environment work together. The first reason is comfort. Toxic habits usually give us quick and easy comfort, even if only for a short time. For example, eating junk food may give us instant pleasure, but it hurts our health in the long term. Scrolling through social media may relax us for a moment, but it wastes hours of our day. Our brains are designed to choose what feels good immediately, even if it brings problems later. This is called instant gratification. Because toxic habits provide this quick reward, they are hard to let go. Another reason is routine. Human beings are creatures of habit. We like doing the same things again and again because it makes us feel safe and stable. Once a toxic habit becomes part of your daily routine, your brain starts doing it automatically, without thinking. For example, if you always check your phone first thing in the morning, your brain builds a strong connection between waking up and using the phone. Breaking this pattern feels strange, even uncomfortable. This automatic behavior makes toxic habits feel like natural parts of life, even when they are not. Stress is another reason toxic habits stay strong. When life feels difficult, stressful, or painful, people often look for easy ways to escape. Toxic habits act like temporary escapes. For example, someone might smoke when stressed or binge watch TV when sad. These habits cover the problem for a short time, but they do not solve it. In fact, they often make the stress worse later. Still, because they provide quick relief, people repeat them again and again. Fear of change also keeps toxic habits alive. Change requires effort, courage, and sometimes sacrifice. If a person has lived with a toxic habit for many years, the idea of life without it can feel scary. For example, someone who always avoids challenges might fear failure if they try something new. Someone who always complains might fear silence if they stop. Even if a habit is harmful, it still feels familiar. And for the human brain, familiar often feels safer than unknown. Another reason toxic habits are hard to break is the influence of our environment. If the people around us also have toxic habits, we are more likely to continue them. For example, if your friends smoke, it is harder to stop smoking. If your coworkers always gossip, you may join them even if you don't want to. Our environment can support us or trap us. That is why breaking toxic habits often requires not just inner strength, but also changes in our surroundings. The brain itself also resists change. Habits create strong pathways in the brain. The more you repeat a behavior, the stronger the pathway becomes. Imagine a road in the forest. The more people walk on it, the clearer and easier it becomes to follow. Toxic habits are like wide, clear roads in the brain. Healthy habits, if not practiced often, are like narrow, hidden paths. Choosing the hidden path requires more effort and energy, so the brain prefers the easy, familiar road. This is why toxic habits feel so natural and difficult to avoid. Finally, toxic habits are often linked to identity. Over time, people may start to see these habits as part of who they are. For example, someone might say, "I am always late," or "I am a lazy person." When a toxic habit becomes part of your identity, it feels impossible to change because changing it means changing who you are. But in reality, habits are not identity. They are only repeated behaviors. Recognizing this truth is the first step to breaking free. So, toxic habits are hard to break because they give comfort, become routine, reduce stress for a short time, feel familiar, are supported by our environment, create strong brain pathways, and sometimes even become part of our identity. Understanding these reasons does not make toxic habits disappear, but it helps us see why change feels so difficult. Once we understand the roots of the problem, we can begin to fight it with knowledge, patience, and strength. Episode 4: The hidden damage of toxic habits. At first, toxic habits may look small. They may not seem dangerous in daily life. One piece of junk food, one late night of no sleep, 1 hour wasted on social media, these do not look serious. But toxic habits are not dangerous because of one action. They are dangerous because of repetition. When repeated day after day, year after year, they slowly harm your body, your mind, and your relationships. The damage is often hidden at first, but with time, it grows bigger and harder to fix. One of the biggest areas where toxic habits cause damage is health. For example, Bad eating habits can slowly hurt your body. Eating too much sugar, fried food, or fast food can lead to weight gain, heart disease, or diabetes. At the same time, not moving enough, sitting for long hours, or skipping exercise can weaken your muscles and energy. These changes happen slowly, so people do not notice the damage right away. But after years, the results are clear. Toxic habits can shorten your life and make everyday living more difficult. Sleep is another area of health affected by toxic habits. Staying up too late, using your phone in bed, or drinking too much caffeine may not seem serious, but over time, these habits steal your energy, hurt your focus, and weaken your immune system. Poor sleep also affects your emotions, making you more stressed, sad, or angry. Sleep problems do not come all at once. They build up slowly, and that is why people often ignore them until the damage feels heavy. The mind also suffers from toxic habits. Negative thinking, self-criticism, and constant complaining are habits that poison the way we see the world. When you tell yourself, "I am not good enough," every day, your brain starts to believe it. This habit destroys confidence and motivation. It can also lead to anxiety and depression. Gossiping, comparing yourself to others, or always focusing on problems are other toxic mental habits. They may seem small, but they slowly take away joy and peace. Relationships are another place where toxic habits leave deep scars. For example, poor communication, always interrupting, or never listening to others can slowly break trust. Jealousy, lying, or controlling behavior can destroy love and respect. These things may not ruin a relationship in one day, but if repeated, they create distance and pain. Toxic habits in relationships are dangerous because they push people apart without them even realizing it until it is too late. Another hidden damage of toxic habits is time loss. Time is one of the most valuable things in life, yet toxic habits waste it without mercy. Scrolling endlessly on social media, procrastinating instead of working, or watching too much TV might not feel harmful in one moment, but when hours turn into weeks and weeks turn into years, people realize how much of life they lost. The problem is that lost time never comes back. This is why time-wasting habits are among the most toxic of all. Toxic habits also damage potential. Every person has dreams, goals, and abilities. But when toxic habits control life, they block growth. For example, laziness or procrastination can stop you from learning new skills. Fearful thinking can stop you from trying new opportunities. Bad spending habits can stop you from saving money for your future. Each toxic habit acts like a heavy chain, holding you back from becoming your best self. The saddest part is that many people never realize how much potential they lost until much later in life. Even society is affected by toxic habits. When many people repeat unhealthy or negative behaviors, the results spread to communities. For example, gossip and negativity in a workplace can destroy teamwork. Overuse of technology can reduce real human connection in families. Poor lifestyle habits can increase health problems in a country. Toxic habits are not only personal, they influence the world around us. The hidden damage of toxic habits is powerful because it grows silently. Most people only notice it when the effects are already serious. That is why awareness is so important. When we recognize the damage early, we have a chance to stop it before it becomes too heavy. Understanding that small choices create big results over time is the key to protecting our health, mind, relationships, time, and future. Toxic habits are not only bad behaviors, they are silent destroyers that attack slowly and quietly. They steal health, joy, trust, time, and opportunities. By seeing the hidden damage clearly, we can find the strength to fight against them. The truth is, every toxic habit has a price, and the longer we keep it, the higher the price becomes. Episode 5: Breaking Free from Toxic Habits. Toxic habits are powerful, but they are not unbreakable. No matter how long you have lived with them, it is always possible to change. The first step to breaking free is awareness. You cannot fight what you do not see. Many people live on autopilot, repeating toxic habits without thinking. But once you stop, reflect, and identify your habits, you begin to take back control. Naming the toxic habit is like shining a light in a dark room. It makes the problem clear and less scary. The second step is taking small, realistic actions. Many people fail to change because they try to do too much at once. For example, a person who never exercises may plan to go to the gym every day for 2 hours. After a week, they give up and the habit never changes. Instead, the secret is to start small. If you want to eat healthier, begin by adding one fruit or vegetable to your meals. If you want to use your phone less, try turning it off for 30 minutes each day. Small changes may not look powerful, but when repeated, they grow into big results. Replacing toxic habits with positive ones is another key. It is not enough to remove a bad habit. You need to fill the empty space with something better. For example, if you stop eating junk food but do not replace it with healthy snacks, you will return to old patterns. If you stop scrolling social media at night but do not find another activity like reading or journaling, you will feel bored and fall back into the toxic habit. Replacing is the secret that makes change stronger and long-lasting. Another important step is patience. Toxic habits are built over years. You cannot destroy them in one day. Many people give up because they expect fast results. But breaking habits is like climbing a mountain. It requires time, energy, and steady effort. Some days will be difficult, and sometimes you may fall back into old ways. That does not mean failure. It means you're human. The key is to keep trying, to stand up again, and to believe that progress is possible. Support from others also makes a big difference. When you try to change alone, it is easy to feel weak or give up. But when you share your goals with friends, family, or community, you get encouragement and accountability. For example, if you want to stop smoking, telling a close friend helps you stay responsible. If you want to exercise more, joining a group class gives you energy. Human connection is a powerful tool in breaking toxic habits. Another powerful method is self-reward. The brain loves rewards. When you celebrate small successes, you give your mind positive energy to continue. For example, if you spend a week avoiding junk food, reward yourself with something you enjoy, like a walk in nature or a favorite book. If you finish tasks on time instead of procrastinating, give yourself a small treat. These rewards tell your brain, "Good job, keep going." Over time, this makes the new habit stronger. Breaking free also requires self-compassion. Many people hate themselves for their toxic habits. They say, "I am weak, I am a failure, I can never change." But this negative thinking makes habits stronger, not weaker. Instead, you must be kind to yourself. Understand that everyone has toxic habits. Change is not about being perfect, it's about making progress. Treat yourself like a friend, not an enemy. This positive mindset gives you strength to continue. Visualization can also help. Imagine your life without the toxic habit. How will you feel? How will your health improve? How will your relationships grow? Creating a clear picture of the future gives your mind motivation for real change. For example, if you want to quit procrastination, imagine finishing your work early and enjoying your free time without stress. Visualization turns dreams into energy for real change. Most importantly, you must believe in your power to change. Toxic habits try to tell you that you are stuck forever, but this is a lie. Human beings are adaptable, creative, and strong. History shows that people can change their lives completely, no matter their age or past. You have that same power. Every choice is a chance to create a new path. Every day is an opportunity to be better than yesterday. Breaking free from toxic habits is not easy, but it is possible. Awareness, small actions, replacement, patience, support, rewards, self-compassion, and belief are the tools you need. With them, you can cut the chains that hold you back. Toxic habits do not define who you are. They are only patterns of behavior, and patterns can be changed. The journey may be long, but the reward is freedom. Freedom to live healthier, to think positively, to connect deeply with others, and to use your time and energy for the life you truly want. By breaking free, you do not only escape what is toxic, but you also create space for growth, happiness, and true success.